Listen to what Speaker Johnson had to say about tax hikes on millionaires.
I would not expect that. We have been working against that idea. I'm not in favor of raising the tax rates because our party is the group that stands against that traditionally. So there were lots of ideas thrown out on the table along this process over the last year. But I would just say for everybody, just wait and see. There's more details coming, and I think you're going to be very pleased by what you see. I don't think we're raising taxes on anybody. What we're trying to do is prevent the largest tax increase in U.S. history.
Okay, member of the House Financial Services Committee, Florida Congressman Byron Donalds joins me now. If we don't tax the rich, how do we pay for tax cuts?
Stu, it's good to be with you. First and foremost, we're not raising taxes. That's not going to happen. I'll tell you right now, I'm not voting for it if that's what's in the package. And there's a lot of members on the Republican side of the aisle who will not join that. So we're not going to be raising taxes. Number two, to your question about how do we, quote unquote, pay for tax cuts? In my view, current tax policy, you don't have to pay for because we haven't changed the tax mix. We're not changing anything from the original TCJA. If you're going to pay for stuff, you pay for the new items. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security. But the core of Donald Trump's tax policy is an extension of current law, making it permanent. I don't believe in the ridiculous accounting in Washington where you have to pay for an extension in tax cuts. It doesn't make sense in the real world. That is Washington math. And we all know Washington math doesn't even add up anyway. If you're going to talk about the spending cuts that are needed, we do have to cut mandatory spending. That has nothing to do with tax policy, in my opinion.
Okay, how do we pay for no tax on tips, no tax on overtime? Are you hoping that tariff revenue pays for those extra tax cuts?
No, not at all. I think that there's definite places to cut in the federal government. DOJ is proving that day in, day out. I think that what needs to happen in mandatory spending is that there's a $1.5 trillion in cuts over the next decade. That would more than pay for all of the new tax policies that President Trump campaigned on and President Trump won on. I think what you're seeing coming out of Capitol Hill is an argument between fiscal hawks who have been wanting to cut federal spending for a long time. And then you have the accounting games that have been going on in Washington for far too long that say you have to pay for tax policy. I fundamentally disagree with that. Tax policy is how the government raises revenue. And one thing that is clear from Donald Trump's tax policy, it raised more revenue than at any other point in American history, and it provided more economic growth. So in my view, it's his policy already paid for itself. The Democrats saying it costs $2 trillion is a lie. We don't have to pay for current law. All we have to do is extend it, make it permanent, so our economy can continue to grow.
Treasury Secretary Bessent says he's optimistic the tax cuts can get done by July the 4th. Do you think that's realistic?
I do. I've been saying for a while now, I think this all gets done around June or July. A lot of this is going to be determined primarily on the amount of mandatory spending cuts that are in this package. I'm very clear on this, Stu. I've been clear with Speaker Johnson, clear at the White House. If you cut $1.5 trillion, we'll be able to wrap all this up and get it all done probably about June or July. So I agree with Secretary Bessent. Yeah. I think that's the target. It's about mandatory spending. It's really not about tax policy.
You recently held an in-person, that's important, an in-person town hall. We've got the video. It was interrupted by protesters. Roll it, please.
The Palestinians have voted for Hamas. And I will respect you, and I will honor the fact that you are here trying to get answers. But if you're going to hold this thing up and be disrespectful, then that's time for you to be ruthless.
Congressman, I thought Republicans were trying to move away from in-person town halls. Why did you jump into the lion's den?
Stu, that's who I am. I mean, I heard what Republican leadership said, but I disagree. I think every member should be holding town halls in person with their constituents. Number two, let's be clear. Yeah, Democrats are more organized on the ground than they ever have been. I've been holding town halls for 5 years. Never saw this many Democrats come to any one of my town halls, but they want to show up now. That's okay. That's part of the process. But if you want to come in and if you want to make a scene and you want to yell, you want to boo, we're going to kick you out. And at the beginning of the town hall, we were very clear with people. please be respectful. Let people hear the answers. Let people hear the questions. If you want to disagree, disagree. But let's be civil. Let's be orderly. Some people chose not to.
Okay.
We had to kick them out. And the next time I do a town hall, if they choose to be unruly, I'm going to kick them out again.
Okay, that's fighting words. Congressman, real fast, why do you want to move the NASA headquarters from Washington to Florida?
Well, number one, we don't need NASA headquarters in D.C. anymore. It makes no sense. Two, we do more shuttle and more rocket launches out of Florida than anywhere else. Number three, I had the opportunity to tour the Artemis II construction bay. We're building the next NASA space shuttle in Florida to be able to take astronauts back to the moon. That's the current mission. Of course, NASA headquarters should be close to the action, not caught up in the bureaucratic mess of Washington, D.C. And I would add, I think it is time that we start getting these agency heads out of D.C. You know, it's a very different situation than when NASA was created back in the 60s, where you wanted to be close to the administration. Now with telecommunications, I mean, look, Stu, I'm sitting in my house doing this interview with you. Everything looks great. People are hearing the commentary very clearly. It makes sense in today's world that NASA headquarters is close to the action, not close to the bureaucracy. And that action is in Florida.
I got to go. But good luck with that. Congressman Byron Donalds, always a pleasure. Thank you much, sir.